What's going on, everybody? Welcome. It's your boy Ango, and we are doing a live show. We're doing a live show discussing AEW Rampage. We have seen the debut of Keith Lee. We saw the debut of Switchblade Jay White. We saw a hell of a Texas death match between Hangman Page and, of course, Lance Archer. Today's stream is brought to you by streammusic.gg. If you guys create videos, Instagram Reels, TikToks, maybe you go live on Twitch, streammusic.gg allows you to use music for absolutely free, no cost, no risk, no copyright strikes, and your boy Ango is making some hot bangers on streammusic.gg. So if you guys want, check it out in the description down below. I'm actually going to remove the chat box from the screen, but I am going to be paying attention to the chat today. If you guys are joining us live after AEW Dynamite, I want to say thank you. Consider joining our membership program, $4.99 a month. You get Discord VIP access, early content, and more perks. Very excited about that. Starting in March, I'm going to be dropping a new series on this channel, and members will be able to get the video 3 days earlier. It's going to be really cool. And I also want to say thank you to some of the members that have already contributed to the channel. Those names are in the stream. You guys can see the scrolling names. So thank you to you if your name is there. And thank you to over 100 plus people who are watching us live. Guys, AEW Dynamite was fantastic tonight. And I want to start doing this more often if you will allow me to. So if you guys want me to go live more on Dynamite after Dynamite, I would love to start doing this more often. As you guys know, it is important for me to engage with you guys. I love talking wrestling with you guys. What a good show. Definitely some pros and cons. We got back-to-back debuts. We had an impressive match for Jade Cargill, which was absolutely awesome. We had a couple bad things, and we're going to talk about that in a moment. Just to give you an idea, these post shows are going to go around 30 minutes. I know there's a lot of people that are creating content, and you guys, I know there's only 24 hours in a day, so we'll kind of... We'll kind of see what happens. You know what I mean? Maybe we'll go an hour. Maybe we'll go 2 hours, 3 hours. But tonight we're going to try to do 30 minutes. Wow, man. This is a good episode. First of all, I want to just say what up to everybody in the chat. It's been a while since I've done a live show on this channel. New belongs, Isaac plays, Robin plays games, Jamie Palmer, Yona. There's a lot of people in the chat, so thank you for stopping by. And again, if you guys want me to read your questions or comments, go ahead and drop a super chat. If you guys want to drop a super chat, it goes directly to the channel. I invest that in the channel, and we have some big plans in 2022. So what was the good stuff for AEW tonight, and where did I feel like AEW went wrong? Well, first of all, we saw the debut of Keith Lee. Damn. How did WWE drop the ball with Keith Lee? When you start to realize WWE's strategy of building characters, right? I have no problem with that strategy whatsoever. Keith Lee is not a character. Keith Lee is a phenomenal wrestler. And you can tell when Keith Lee was in NXT compared to when Keith Lee was on the main roster of WWE, Keith Lee was exciting to watch in NXT. You slap on the name Bearcat Keith Lee and you can just simply tell that that was not meant to be. What's even more interesting to me is that Keith Lee makes his debut against Isaiah Cassidy. If you guys are unaware, we have been talking about this for days now on the channel. But what's most impressive, and this is where I just really love AEW, and this is where I think AEW does really well. In my opinion, AEW does lack on characters. That's not a bad thing. As a fan, I prefer more character work. But AEW in one night has instantly made me think that Keith Lee is a star. The presentation, the package, it almost felt like they allowed Keith Lee to be himself. Vince McMahon wanted Keith Lee to be a sports entertainer. Now, I'm not being negative here. Keith Lee, to me, I don't think he cuts the greatest promos. He's not an MJF kind of guy on the mic. When I heard him speak and cut promos in WWE, I was not excited about that. I was not thrilled about that. When I saw Keith Lee tonight, I realized I don't really care if Keith Lee could cut a promo or not, because Keith Lee can wrestle. Shout out to Davey Thompson for becoming a member. Greatly appreciate you. Keith Lee tonight showed that he is a professional wrestler, and that is what he's meant to be. And yes, if you watch my content, I do talk about how AEW is signing a lot of talent. It's one of my things that I have been griping about. But at least when they sign talent like Keith Lee, they are allowed to make an instant impact. Now, I am on record for saying that I would have loved to see Keith Lee in Impact Wrestling, because I think Impact could have used Keith Lee. But my God, watching Keith Lee versus Isaiah Cassidy was incredible. By the way, maybe you guys haven't been paying attention, AEW is slowly teasing Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy. So not only did we get a phenomenal match between Keith Lee and Isaiah Cassidy, we also saw Matt Hardy abandon his boys. Now imagine that. Jeff Hardy and AEW is going to be very, very interesting. But nonetheless, Keith Lee looked really good. What's really interesting, though, is before Keith Lee debuted, we saw the debut of Jay White, Switchblade. If you don't watch Impact Wrestling, then you might have been missing him, because he's been wrestling in Impact thanks to the Forbidden Door. Phenomenal stuff, by the way. Jay White absolutely dominating in New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong. Now he's in AEW, and that's a very solid debut. Backstage segment, Brandon Cutler, Adam Cole, and the Young Bucks. Later on in the show, AEW, the Young Bucks actually were talking to Adam Cole, and they got pissed at him because Adam Cole brought in Jay White, who had issues with Kenny Omega. For a casual audience, this is not good. For AEW's audience, this is excellent. And that's why I'm not mad at it. It is very clear to me that AEW is gone from trying to impress a more casual audience. Right now, it looks like AEW is catering to their own audience, and I don't blame them. It is very clear that is their strategy. Jay White and AEW, you got this dynamic of the Young Bucks, Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole, Jay White, Kenny Omega. Things are about to get messy. Things are absolutely 100% going to get messy in that storyline. And I hope that AEW delivers on that, because I think they could. I think they could deliver on that. It'll be interesting to see what they do. But AEW loves long-term storytelling. You know who else loves long-term storytelling? Me. I love long-term storytelling. If you watch my videos on a daily basis, I criticize AEW and I criticize WWE and I criticize Impact, but I watch them every single day because it is my job. And I believe I have earned the right to criticize. I try to be non-biased. I try to be fair. But the one thing you will not hear me criticize is AEW's ability to tell a good long-term storytelling. A good long-term story is what I love about AEW. And if you don't believe me, let's take a look. Hangman Page tonight had a Texas death match against Lance Archer. Prior to Hangman Page having these big matches, you know what Hangman Page was doing? He was chasing the belt. Distraught over his relationship with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. The chase. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And then I started to feel like Hangman Page's title reign was getting boring. Strange, because he's been having fantastic matches. But then, look at what happened. Look at what happened. Lance Archer in a Texas death match against Hangman Page, and both of them walked out of that match looking incredible. Beautiful stuff. Guys, we got a super chat from Bay Bay. He says, "Hey, Ango, did you notice Switchblade was through the forbidden door and Keith Lee was a free agent, but not the same person like Tony claimed?" You're absolutely correct, Bay Bay. Tony Khan needs to be a little bit careful with the way he promotes. I won't lie. I've said this before. I think sometimes he kind of talks himself into a trap. Not a bad thing, but it happens. Tim Nichols, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate it. But yes, I do believe that at times Tony Khan could get kind of wordy, and sometimes he messes up his wording. But it's not a big deal, because guess what? We got 2 big debuts. Now that Keith Lee doesn't have restrictions, now that Switchblade is in AEW, now Lance Archer just lost against Hangman Page, Adam Cole ending the show holding the title belt. There is a lot to look forward to. Meanwhile, 27-0, Jade Cargill, Serena Deeb, CM Punk and MJF, which we are going to talk about that in just a little bit because that was really cool. AEW is not perfect. I've said this before. If you're saying that AEW is perfect, you are lying. You are not being a good fan. Tony Khan will not improve his product if you're telling him that his show is better. He won't. But tonight was a really good show. And that's what I love to see so much. That was beautiful. Thank you, Scott, for subscribing. I greatly appreciate it. And by the way, I just want to give another shout out again to Bay Bay for the super chat. That was a beautiful comment, and you're absolutely correct. There is a lot of great things that AEW is doing. And there is a lot of things they need to work on. But again, the only way they're going to improve is by listening to the audience. Not just the audience that will tell you everything is perfect, but listen to the audience that tells you, hey, I enjoy your product, but you could do things a little bit differently. Pretty simple. Now, me personally, I thought AEW hit the ball out of the park tonight. One of the better, more enjoyable episodes I've seen. And a lot of that actually had to deal with the way they opened the show. If you guys didn't watch Dynamite's opener, MJF, The Pinnacle, Wardlow, all celebrating together. Unbelievable. MJF gets a new t-shirt, which I'm sure is going to sell out. It probably already sold out. I am better than the best in the world, and you know it. Again, they're teasing something special with Wardlow turning on him, but they still haven't done it. MJF proclaims that he wants the AEW World Championship. Pretty interesting considering the show ended with Adam Cole holding the belt and handing it to Hangman Page. But it is very clear that AEW is in a situation right now where now, more than ever, they're building interest all across the show. So let's talk about CM Punk. He comes out and he gets the wrestling world talking on social media. He wants a rematch against MJF. MJF says no. You got to verse FTR. So what does CM Punk do? CM Punk has to find a tag team partner because he's not allowed to use Sting or Darby Allin, who, by the way, came out to accompany him at that point. Now, this is where things get good. CM Punk immediately goes to Twitter. He tweets at Danhausen. What else does he do? He tweets Samoa Joe. That asshole. He tweeted Samoa Joe. Can you imagine? It is 2022. Can you imagine Samoa Joe and CM Punk tag teaming on AEW Dynamite? Pretty insane. Pretty insane. But nonetheless, CM Punk's tag team partner, which for some reason on Twitter, people were actually underwhelmed by this. I don't understand why. But CM Punk's tag team partner, Jon Moxley. Unbelievable, guys. And I still don't think people understand. This is why I enjoy AEW. I'm harsh on AEW. At times, I absolutely criticize them. I will never deny that. I think sometimes Tony Khan, he uses Twitter a little too much, because if he just shut up once in a while, his show would probably be even more exciting, to be honest. I think some people are actually getting to the point where they're turned off by Tony Khan, because Tony Khan is promoting a major announcement. Well, what is your major announcement? Instead of saying you're teasing a major announcement, say that you're bringing in a debut. Because people thought there was a debut and then another announcement, right? So again, it becomes kind of confusing. Not something for me to complain about, but this is what other people are saying. My point that I'm making is that for as much as I criticize AEW, tonight was one of those episodes where I feel like everybody got something good in. And that's mind-boggling to me, because I feel like AEW lately, it's been kind of up and down, up and down. Now, I want to talk more about CM Punk. CM Punk is going to get his rematch with MJF. My guess is it's going to happen at Revolution. And my guess, my prediction, I believe that Wardlow is going to turn on MJF at Revolution. I believe CM Punk versus Revolution will be a massive match. But that right there is going to be overshadowed by the biggest babyface turn in this company's history, and that is Wardlow. Earlier in this live stream, we were talking about long-term storytelling, something that I do believe AEW does really well. And again, what are they doing? Long-term storytelling with Wardlow. I see people get impatient with it. I understand that they're impatient. Trust me, I do not disagree. Sometimes it could take a little too long. But now, don't you want to see Wardlow turn on MJF more than ever? CM Punk versus MJF at Revolution is going to be absolutely massive. Which it's not really like an AEW feud. When you really look at that feud is very similar to a WWE style program. AEW, by the way, having a very strong lead-in. Look at that. Very strong lead-in, guys. The Big Bang Theory, which, by the way, funny enough, I just started watching it on HBO Max. I promise you this is not an ad, but I actually never watched the show before. I started on season 1. I actually love it. I don't know why. Maybe I'm a geek. I don't know. But AEW didn't start off the show with a match. No, they started off with a promo. Again, this is what I'm talking about. This felt like a WWE promo, a WWE segment. What is the difference? WWE puts the handcuffs on their talent. Oh, and by the way, speaking of handcuffs, we are going to talk about the Inner Circle. Because that segment, my friends, totally underestimated. People love to criticize, and sometimes those criticisms don't have merit. I am one of those people. I truly believe when I watch AEW, when I put out a tweet on Twitter, when I put out a video on YouTube, I try to be as genuine as possible. And sometimes I see people disagree with me. Sometimes I see the name calling. Sometimes people tell me I don't have a voice. I shouldn't be using my voice. But the thing is, I have been right about AEW. I've been covering it since day one, and I take pride in that. I take pride in the fact that I've been covering it very closely. All the news stories, all the rumors. I've watched every episode, every show. I've been to pay-per-views, several of them. This is groundbreaking stuff, guys. So I do feel that AEW does a lot of good. And I could say that AEW does some bad. So before we talk about the Inner Circle splitting up, because we are going to get to that, I got some cons to discuss. But first, I want to say thank you to Edgardo. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Edgardo Fortuno. I really, really hope I am pronouncing that right. He leaves a super chat for $5. He says, even JR's comment reminding people Wardlow was under MJF's contract, part of long-time storytelling. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Which, by the way, I would really love for the internet wrestling community to stop talking shit about Jim Ross, because a lot of people say he's too old sometimes, blah, 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 blah. I see this shit on my Twitter. If it wasn't for Excalibur, Jim Ross, and Tony Schiavone talking and applying logic, I don't know. I don't know how I would feel about AEW. It's like one of the reasons why I like Impact, because they have a good commentary team. It's one of the reasons why even WWE has, Pat McAfee and Jimmy Smith. Like, there are certain commentators that just add value. Jim Ross is legendary. And I really thank you again, Edgardo. I really do hope I pronounced your name right. I don't like to pronounce people's names wrong, but again, just thank you for mentioning that, because that is so key. That's one of those little things. If you don't watch AEW with the volume up, you're missing that stuff. Sometimes you need an explanation, because here's the thing with long-term storytelling, sometimes you forget. It's normal. You're watching 3 hours of Raw, you're watching SmackDown, you're watching all of these different things. It's really hard to remember absolutely every detail. So when commentary does that, they're providing the value that you expect from commentary. So again, thank you, Edgardo, for your super chat. I greatly appreciate it. It is really, really appreciated. So another good thing, guys, before we get to the cons, actually, I want to talk about the Inner Circle. Can we just talk about how great that was? First of all, before we get to that, Noob Lungs, thank you so much for becoming a member. I greatly appreciate you. Make sure you send an email to Tony@DestinationPW so I can get you into the Discord server for VIP access. Guys, the membership program is something I'm taking very serious in 2022. So if you guys want to become a member, you could be just as cool as Noob Lungs. I will be happy to get you listed in our chat thingy, scrolly thing. Yeah. But if you guys want to join, it's $4.99 a month, early content, VIP access in Discord. My number one goal is to build the largest pro wrestling community. So I am going to talk about the Inner Circle, but just a quick message. My goal, I have a Discord server. We have almost 300 people in there. My goal is to make this community big. And it doesn't matter if you love or hate AEW, guys. It doesn't matter if you love or hate WWE. Wrestling brings people together. If you guys want to join the community, Discord is completely free. But keep in mind, we do have a VIP access. It's like the red carpet for wrestling fans. Now I want to say shout out to Lon Maya, because Lon Maya, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right as well. If Team Taz added a fourth guy, who would it be? What a freaking amazing question. Because there is somebody I have been thinking about lately for that. Lon Maya, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Let's answer it. Before we talk about Inner Circle, let's answer that. Guys, you know who I want to join Team Taz? The person I would like to see join Team Taz is former WWE superstar Isaiah Swerve Scott, a.k.a. Shane Strickland, a.k.a. Killshot. That is who I want to join Team Taz. I think Shane Strickland is somebody who will blossom in a singles role. I genuinely believe that. I genuinely believe that Shane Strickland will be a top singles guy. But before he goes into a singles role, I would love to see the dynamic between Shane Strickland, Ricky Starks, Brian Cage, Hook, and Taz. By the way, the reason for that is because they're all very different characters. But I see factions being not necessarily about how they are together, but more so how it is business-wise. If I was a manager in AEW and I'm building a faction, I want people who are going to make me money, right? So imagine that. And it kind of segues into the Inner Circle, because look at the Inner Circle. Proud and powerful. Santana and Ortiz are tired of Chris Jericho's shit. This is actually surprisingly my favorite part. My favorite part of the entire show. I'm going to explain that in just a second, because now we've been interrupted. Robin Plays Game has been a member for 12 months. Oh my gosh, Robin, thank you again for re-upping your membership. This show was good, and I'm happy that Keith Lee is in AEW, and I was not expecting Jay White to show up. This is going to be amazing. Robin Plays Games, I'm with you, my friend. I am with you. I agree 100%. But now we got to talk about, guys, we got to talk about the Inner Circle. This was my favorite thing of the show, but I'm going to explain why. We saw great things. We saw debuts. We saw great matches. We saw the Texas Death Match. That's beautiful stuff. I'm very happy about that. The reason why the Inner Circle to me was so impressive tonight was because it is very clear the direction that AEW is going. And I think this is going to end in one or two ways. So I would like to explain. Santana and Ortiz are pissed off with Chris Jericho. And on the other hand, you got Chris Jericho standing side by side, Sammy Guevara and Jake Hager. By the end of the segment, Sammy Guevara walks away and says he's done. Santana and Ortiz, they challenge Jericho and they challenge Jake Hager to a tag team match next week. This faction is blowing up. First of all, Santana and Ortiz cut the best promo ever. Just real, authentic, New York style type of shit. And I say this all the time. That realness, that grit, that is what wrestling needs. So they cut this amazing promo. Chris Jericho, egotistical. He's the influencer. To me, it sounds like it's pretty certain that Chris Jericho is turning heel. But we don't know where Sammy Guevara stands. He says he loves them all. He walks away with his 2 belts. Jake Hager stands side by side with Chris Jericho. So I see this ending in one of 2 ways. Maybe even a third one. What do I think is going to happen, guys? I think this is going to happen, and bear with me. I'm going to try to get my message across clearly. Will I be able to? Quite honestly, I don't know. Sammy Guevara walks away from the group. Perhaps Sammy Guevara joins side by side with Chris Jericho and Jake Hager. Perhaps all 3 of those guys go heel. Proud and Powerful stay babyface, and they're joined by Eddie Kingston. They reform LAX. Or perhaps Sammy Guevara goes his own way. Perhaps Sammy Guevara leaves Inner Circle for good. Yet Jake Hager actually turns on Chris Jericho. Chris Hager is he's not talking in these segments. He's not getting involved in these segments. He just stands there and looks awkward. I could see him being the wild card. And I love that. Because you don't know which way it's going to go. Is Sammy Guevara going to be heel? Is he going to be babyface? Is he going to join Proud and Powerful? Is he going to stand side by side Chris Jericho and Jake Hager? That is what's intriguing to me. Because I don't know. Jamie Palmer has extended his membership for 21 months. I can't believe Jericho said he got the wrong members of LAX and asked Hager to call Homicide and Hernandez. That right there was the game changer. Santana goes and tries to shove Chris Jericho. Look at that, guys. It's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Unbelievable stuff. Thank you, Jamie Palmer, for renewing your membership. And now a huge thank you to Zachary, who has now become a member. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate your support. Again, don't forget to email Tony@destinationpw.com so you can claim your perks. I absolutely love what they're doing here, but what I absolutely love 100% without a doubt in my mind, I truly genuinely believe this. What's happening with the Inner Circle is gorgeous. It is beautiful stuff, man. It is beautiful stuff. And I just love that you can go any way with it. Whether it's Sammy Guevara going on his own, Whether it's Jake Hager turning on him, maybe they do some like NWO Wolfpack versus NWO OGs. Guys, we got a super chat from Davey Thompson, who also became a member today, so thank you. $2 super chat. Ango, are you going to keep doing live streams? You know what? Let's just ask the audience. Should I review AEW Dynamite and do live post shows? This would also include pay-per-views, my friends. Maybe even Rampage. I don't know. Friday nights are kind of tough. You know, I'm in that key demographic. Sometimes I go out on Friday nights. But go ahead and vote in that poll, guys. Let me know what you think. Should I keep doing this? If the answer is yes, I keep doing this. Simple as that. Thank you, Davey Thompson, for your super chat. I greatly appreciate it, my friend. You guys don't understand how much I appreciate the support. It's absolutely beautiful. Again, my number one goal is to build a community here on YouTube. And truth be told, I love what I do. This is my job. So I invest literally, if you guys are unaware, maybe you're watching me for the first time, 7 days a week. I talk to you guys about the latest news and rumors. And yeah, it's exciting stuff. I love what I do. And my number one goal is to keep growing this and keep building this up and build the best community in the world. But yeah, there is a lot of intrigue with the Inner Circle. There's a lot of intrigue with Sammy Guevara. The only thing I would say, maybe somebody said in the chat too, I can't tell, honestly. I can't remember. You guys are typing a lot in the chat. Sammy Guevara's got to stop wearing the 2 belts. And he's got to stop the cards in the picture-in-picture. To me, it's weird. I don't even care for it anymore. Like, it was funny for, like, the first time. At this point, it's like, you could stop that, you know? Nonetheless, though, the Inner Circle is becoming my favorite thing. But what did I not like about this show? Because, of course, there's a lot of you guys know, I think there's a lot of good things, and then, of course, there's a lot of bad things. So what did I not like about this show? Well, let me be completely transparent with you guys. I would have loved for AEW, truth be told, I would have, thank you to Rockzula, who just subscribed, by the way. I would have loved for AEW to bring some continuity to Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson. That was one of the things I didn't like. I feel like I feel like AEW, in a strange way, in a very, very strange way, AEW kind of missed the boat. And I get it. Jon Moxley's teaming up with CM Punk. You're building the storyline with FTR and stuff. Jon Moxley being his... Jon Moxley bringing him in. It's tough. Zachary just donated $1.99 through Super Chat. Thank you so much, Zachary. He says, bring back Ango in the morning. Love that podcast. We'll see. No guarantees, my friend. I'm trying to work out ideas to make this work. It gets difficult because... So a lot of people ask me to bring back Ango in the morning. Really quick, I'll explain this. First and foremost, if you guys don't know, I upload a minimum of 2 videos a day, 7 days a week. So a morning video and an evening video. I cover about 5 to 6 news stories, 6 to 7 news stories each day. Okay. On top of that, I have launched Ango Plays, which is my new channel for WWE 2K22, and I've launched for AEW console games and stuff like that. So that is another thing, right? So 3 videos a day between 2 different channels, 7 days a week. For those who also don't know, I've launched something called streammusic.gg. I have a lot of love for making music and creating music. So I've launched a music platform to give musicians the ability to use music that I've created. And it's completely free. So they can use music for their live streams and everything like that. So I don't have a lot of time in my hands. I work extremely hard to keep this stuff going. So truth be told, I don't know if I could do Ango in the morning just yet. But I would like to do more live streams. And based on that poll, it looks like you guys agree as well. So no guarantees, but we'll see what we can do. Now, the thing is, going back to Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson, right? Just a little bit of continuity would have been really cool. Just something, maybe a vignette, maybe a backstage segment, just something in general to tell us what is going on with that storyline. Personally speaking, that's what I would have liked to see from AEW. Sahil Singh, thank you for subscribing. I greatly appreciate it. But that's the thing, right? So I talk about how they sign a lot of people. This is not an opinion, guys. I don't think AEW is signing a lot of people. I know they're signing a lot of people. Tony Khan publicly stated that he might not be able to re-sign contracts because of how many people he's bringing in, and he has a lot of plans to bring people in. So the reason why I'm bringing this up, whether or not AEW is signing too many people, we're going to see the effects of this in the long term. I don't think it's going to be anything good, though. But personally speaking, my number one belief is this. I want to see some continuity. Like, today's episode was great. It was great. I have no problem with what AEW has done tonight. But you have a lot of people not being used. So Jade Cargill and AQA having a fantastic match. Fantastic match. Probably Jade's best showing in AEW. But AQA is not on the roster. And they have women signed to the company who have not been used. Serena Deeb. Working against somebody, I don't remember her name, Katie Arquette. She's worked on AEW Dark before, but she's not part of the roster. Again, I get it, quick little squash match and whatnot, but you have a lot of people. You do have a lot of people on your roster, and that's a statistic. That is factual. So, as much as I enjoyed AEW tonight, and trust me, it was one of their strongest episodes in a while, I have to be very transparent with you and tell you guys that I want to see more. I want to see more from this roster. CM Punk, for example, he didn't really need to tag team with Jon Moxley. I'm not complaining about it. It was great. But there is a lot of people not being used on TV. And that is my thing. That's my thing. Like, they have a lot going on. And it brings me this fear that AEW is doing a lot to pop a rating, to get a freaking amazing reaction from their crowd. I don't blame them. I know that's important to Tony Khan. But at the same time, too, what about the episodes when you don't have that planned? When you don't have those surprises? Because you got to keep that in mind. What are you going to do when the pops run out? That, to me, is one of the most intriguing aspects of this all. That is what scares me a little bit. And I think I have every right to feel that way. I've been watching AEW from the beginning to now. It's a different company. Not saying for better, not saying for worse. It is a different company. We got another super chat from Zachary. Wow, thank you. This time for $4.99, he says, you mentioned before that if it happened in WWE, you don't want to see it in AEW. I agree with you. AEW needs to make new storylines. And I agree 1,000,000% by that. And that's why I'm very keen on saying I love what they're doing with CM Punk and MJF, right? I love the storytelling that they're doing with Jade Cargill. I love the storyline with Adam Cole and the Bucks and Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, because that's my number one thing was I didn't want to see Undisputed Era being positioned the same. And sure enough, we got like this story that's going on. I don't even know how to explain it. It's like it's kind of strange. Adam Cole and Kenny Omega, we don't know that dynamic. The Young Bucks not really liking Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly. Plus, you bring in Switchblade. There's a lot that AEW has to do to be different than WWE. There's a lot that they have to do differently. So bringing in Keith Lee is fantastic, but if it's Keith Lee from NXT, if it's nothing different, I think that is a problem. But maybe you could show us new New life from Keith Lee. MJF and CM Punk is a story. We've seen this kind of stuff in WWE, but I think AEW is doing a fantastic job with it. I think they're very, very strong. So, yes, 100%, Zachary. I'm with you. I just want to see something different, and that's still going to be a fear, 100%. It's going to be a fear for a while because AEW is still signing people, and I'm sorry, guys, but they are still signing a ton of WWE talent. And earlier we had that super chat about a fourth member in Team Taz, and I said Shane Strickland, and I'm sure some people don't agree with that. They probably don't see how it's logical or how it makes sense. If I'm predicting Shane Strickland coming to AEW, my guess is that Hit Row isn't coming with him. Do I want to see Shane Strickland be a good wrestler? Of course, we know he's a good wrestler. Do I want to see Shane Strickland with a really good character? I think putting him with Team Taz could be really interesting. Again, it would be something different than how we've seen him or viewed him in WWE. Bryan Danielson was another example of somebody who was being used differently in AEW compared to what he was in WWE. And I don't think WWE ever used Bryan Danielson the wrong way. His career panned out very well. I will not critique that. I'm not jumping on that train where I say Daniel Bryan sucked, because Daniel Bryan went exactly the way I expected. Up until his last match against Roman Reigns, Daniel Bryan was always having great matches. In fact, when Daniel Bryan turned heel and had the vegan WWE Championship belt, that was really, really cool. That was really cool. But then we got to see Bryan Danielson, the American Dragon, in AEW. A more amplified version of whatever we saw in WWE and whatever we saw in Ring of Honor. So I'm cool with it. At the end of the day, AEW has one issue. And it's an issue, I don't know if this, to be honest, I don't know if this is an issue that's going to have a solution soon. But they do have a big roster. They have a lot of great talent. They have an issue of people getting lost in the shuffle. 100%, they have an issue with people being lost in the shuffle. Jon Moxley and CM Punk, that match was cool. Tully Blanchard getting involved was cool. It all made sense. It was all logical. It got freaking chaotic as hell. But I don't think Jon Moxley needed to be his tag partner. Zachary, again with another super chat, coming in clutch. Do you think Punk and Danielson will be a tag team? So this was actually perfect timing, by the way. I was going to talk about this. We didn't see Bryan Danielson in a match tonight. We all want to see CM Punk and Bryan Danielson at one point. I feel like it would have been really cool to see them together tonight. And let me explain. Earlier in this stream, I said a big issue that AEW kind of had tonight, if there was one con, it was continuity, right? We're talking about a faction between Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson and CM Punk. This could have been a really good opportunity, by the way, for Bryan Danielson to tag team with CM Punk. And then after the match, some small post-match thing of just maybe teasing the idea of CM Punk being in his faction. On another episode in the future, CM Punk could be backstage with Bryan. Hey, I really appreciate the offer. Right now, my number one goal is myself. Maybe tease a tweener role, because, CM Punk is this baby face. Hey, Bryan, maybe one day, right now, my eye is set on the prize. I want to be a world champion. I want to accomplish this, but I thank you for looking out. Then you could go back to Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley and whatever. Just having some sort of continuity, having some sort of discussion about that new faction. I would have loved to see that. Now, maybe they do that for Rampage. I don't know. But it would have been nice for that to happen on tonight's episode. And that, to me, is what's important about AEW. Continuity. But again, the show was a really good show. And I want to be very clear, again, I think it's okay to criticize. It would have been okay. It's okay to criticize. It's important to be realistic. A solid show. Better show. I would say this show was better than Beach Break. I would say the show was better than Arthur Ashe for sure. The Texas Death Match, everything. Look, in this show, everybody accomplished something. We know AEW can do that. We know AEW has the ability to put on a good episode. I don't think there's ever really been this argument that AEW can't put on a good episode, right? In fact, I would even say this, right? I would say that we have gotten to the point in wrestling, WWE included, WWE, AEW, Impact, ROH, GCW, they all have the capabilities of doing good TV or good episodes or good pay-per-views. Even if you're a WWE hater. We've seen this time and time again. Once in a while, every company could put on a really good show. To me, look, you guys will not bait me into like a WWE versus AEW thing. Just so you know, I watch all of these products. I like all of them in certain ways, and I hate certain things about all of them. But the thing that I really, really enjoy that AEW does, AEW makes their shows feel like a big deal. Even if you don't think that the show is better than Beach Break or Arthur Ashe, there was an energy, there was an excitement around this show. And that right there makes it feel even more important. That is what I love about AEW. WWE, on the other hand, can learn from AEW. Like right now, I think WWE is doing a really good job with Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins. I love what they're doing. But to watch a 3-hour episode to get to that point, it's scary. It's scary that you have to watch 3 hours to get to the good stuff. And that leads me to my biggest fear with AEW. A lot of talent, some people not being used. I see a lot of people, maybe they're joking on Twitter, maybe they're being serious in my comment section. I don't know. They say AEW should be 3 hours long. 2-hour Rampage, 3-hour Dynamite. That's very, very interesting. Very interesting. More TV time could be a solution, but if you start falling off with storytelling, and this is a big what if, but if your show is not consistently good for the 3 hours, that's a problem. Zachary drops another super chat, this time for $4.99. He says, I hope they keep Keith Lee as the monster he is, although I don't want AEW to forget their homegrown talent, but Keith Lee needs to be a top guy. Zachary, you're right on the money. Thank you again for your super chats tonight. I really appreciate your contributions to the channel. Again, I invested all back into this channel. I agree 100%. I also want to add what would be really interesting, because AEW has a tendency to do factions a lot. This is not a well thought out opinion. This is me off the top of the dome. Maybe this is good. Maybe this is bad. I honestly, genuinely don't know. So you guys could tell me. You guys could tell me if you agree or not. What about the idea of putting Keith Lee into a faction? What about making their own faction? Just something to consider. You got guys like Dante Martin who are homegrown talent. You got Top Flight as a tag team. I don't really know. I genuinely don't know what their plans are for Dante Martin. Keep in mind, AEW just lost Leo Rush. He's gone from the company. Is there an opportunity for AEW to launch another faction, right? You got Moxley and Bryan teasing something. Is there a potential opportunity here for AEW to launch a faction with Keith Lee working with somebody like Dante Martin? Again, this is off the dome. It's not a well thought out opinion. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm just suggesting it. This way you have homegrown talent working with some of these names. Because again, the issue here is that TV time, there's not enough TV time, right? And I don't think adding an extra hour to these shows solves anything, because you still have a lot of talent. But perhaps putting Keith Lee in a faction with somebody like Dante and Darius Martin could be really cool. Because I think Dante Martin is going to go back to being a tag team, if I had to guess. Because you got to keep in mind, Ray Phoenix is out. They're teasing that Penta is going dark. They're teasing Penta could very well be going on a singles route. You need tag teams. Zachary again with another super chat, this time for $4.99. Again, wow. Again, thank you. He goes, maybe a faction of the outsiders of released WWE talent, Keith Lee, Cross, and etc. So, Zachary, here's the thing. Let's throw this out here. You guys let me know what you think in the comments, in the chat. And let's just be realistic here. Let's be realistic, okay? If you start a faction with outside WWE talent, I'm not against this by any means. Right now in Ring of Honor, we saw Control Your Narrative, right? EC3, Wesley Blake, Braun Strowman, they invaded ROH Final Battle. Disgruntled former WWE superstars attacking ROH. In Impact right now, there is a storyline where there is a faction called Honor No More. And you got Vinny, Vincent, you got PCO, Matt Taven, Mike and Maria Kanellis, Mike Bennett, right? Again, disgruntled ROH people invading Impact. A former WWE faction is not a bad idea, Zachary. I don't hate that. But who would be the baby faces to take them out? Because if you're a disgruntled faction, or if you're a faction from the outsiders, like Keith Lee and Cross, I feel like you're going to be positioned as a heel. And I'm not sure if Keith Lee should be a heel. I'm not against it. But I want to see what the combative faction would be. And that's why I think Keith Lee being paired with Top Flight could be pretty cool. Better yet, Keith Lee, Top Flight, Shane Strickland. Or, I mean, quite honestly, man, I'm one of those people, I love factions that are completely different. Completely randomized teams. I love factions in wrestling. I see a lot of people, they complain about factions in AEW. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in people. I don't believe that argument. I don't think you could go wrong with having too many factions. I think your competitors, you all want the same thing. You want money, you want fame, you want wins. It's a numbers game. Wouldn't it be better, logically speaking, to team up with people who are similar to you? I'm not saying AEW should ever do a faction like Retribution in WWE, by the way. And that would be my big fear. But Zachary, again, thank you for your super chat. I mean, you're on a roll today. Thank you again so much. I really do genuinely appreciate that. But I mention these things because I look at the tag team division. And right now I think the tag team division has some opportunity. So Zachary leaves another super chat for $1.99. He says, Top Flight and a young tag team take them out. Well, you got Private Party, who are with Andrade and Matt Hardy and all that stuff. That whole storyline is kind of meh for me. I wouldn't mind Private Party and Top Flight joining together. That could be pretty cool. But I think at that point, you got to have somebody lead them. So one singles guy, one single star has to lead them. I think groups are great in pro wrestling. To be honest with you, like, if you guys watch my channel, I tell you, I love NXT 2.0. I know it's an unpopular opinion. I understand that completely. But I've said this before. The Hurt Business were amazing on the main roster. And then I was like, I want more factions in WWE. And then NXT 2.0 really put an emphasis on Legado del Fantasma. And then they also put an emphasis on Diamond Mine. So two factions right there, two groups where I feel like recently we've seen a lot of emphasis. But then on the main roster, there really isn't a faction other than the Bloodline. So I look at AEW, for example, and I see an opportunity because there's a lot of people that could benefit from it. And I love the idea of factions having random people. It doesn't matter how they differentiate from each other. As long as they differentiate from each other and they complement each other, that's what matters. That's why I like Team Taz. Hook and Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs, very interesting stuff. And Zachary's right. Again, another super chat for $1.99. Zachary says, with a stacked roster, factions are the answer. And you're 100% right on the money. Right on the money, 100%. That intrigues me a lot, guys. That intrigues me a lot. And I think that's the solution. because tonight's episode was a very, very good episode. And if I'm being completely honest, from a fan's perspective, I want to see my favorites on TV. And not seeing certain people, it sucks. The only way they got Andrade really on TV recently is because of Matt Hardy and Private Party and that storyline. And I don't like that. I think Andrade should be feuding with Sammy Guevara, by the way. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but Andrade, to me, I feel like he's kind of been lost in the shuffle since he's joined AEW. I do. I don't really care about what's happening between him and Darby and Sting and Matt Hardy and these guys. To me, that stuff is not interesting to me. And it definitely seems like AEW is probably going to be switching from that real soon. They're going to be transitioning. It's time to start building some meaningful feuds for that mid-card. Chris Jericho needs to get back to the main event. Let's do this storyline the right way. The Inner Circle break up. Sammy Guevara and Andrade. That's what I would do. And for the love of God, I'll say it 10 more times. Stop wearing the 2 belts. Please. The only other thing I didn't like tonight, as you guys can imagine, I've been very positive. I've said a lot of great things. But there's one thing that I didn't like tonight. Where the hell is Cody Rhodes, man? I miss Cody Rhodes. I really, really do miss him. I really do. That guy, I miss him. Zachary, again, with another super chat for $4.99. Holy shit, my friend. Thank you. They are setting up Andrade taking over Private Party for Matt Hardy to be a tag team with Jeff. No, you're 100% right. That is literally what they're teasing. Matt Hardy jumping over the barricade. That is what is happening. Clearly. Private Party versus the Hardys will be pretty badass, by the way. But I just don't like the idea of Andrade being in that group. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't fit for me. It's not something where I'm like absolutely dying to watch that. But clearly that is what they're doing. Again, thank you, Zachary, for your super chats all night long and becoming a member. It is greatly appreciated. Again, guys, you could become a member for $4.99 a month. Discord, VIP access, early content, and more perks. Starting in March, I'm going to be dropping a new video series on the channel once a week. Members will be able to get access to the content 3 days before. There's also going to be new perks rolled out shortly. This show was brought to you by StreamMusic.gg, my new music service where I provide non-copyrighted music. A lot of people actually don't know that I produce music. It's one of the things I absolutely love. I love creating stuff, whether it's videos, whether it's live streaming, whether it's music, whether it's graphic design, whether it's fashion. I love creating things. So I'm very blessed that I have the opportunity to do that on this channel. Plus, Stream Music GG, it powers all of the music that you hear on my live streams. If you guys want to learn more information about StreamMusic.gg, go ahead and check out the link in the description. If you guys want to become a member, check out the link in the description. If you guys want to join the Discord server, it is completely free. Again, members do get VIP access, but if you want to join, it is completely free. Go ahead and check out all the links in the description. We will be rounding out the show tonight. Again, over 200 plus viewers today, almost 300 plus viewers. Absolutely incredible. Clearly, you guys want more live streams. I want to say thank you to everybody who put in a super chat, became a member, anybody who has shown love to the brand. I greatly, greatly appreciate you. Thank you so much for that. And most importantly, I want to let you guys know I just genuinely appreciate you guys. I don't think a lot of you guys understand. Like, this is my job. This is what I do. And I enjoy what I do, and I enjoy discussing wrestling with you guys, and I enjoy, building this community. So I do greatly appreciate it. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to drop a comment down below. And if you guys have not seen my video, I most recently uploaded a video on Keith Lee. And of course, I've been following tons of news stories, okay? So if you guys have missed it, feel free to check it out. Tony Khan, AEW, Joey Janela talking about his contract stuff, AEW possibly buying Jeff Hardy out of his contract. I mean, there's a lot of news, so go ahead and check out those links on the channel. Otherwise, my friends, that is all for today's video. That is all for today's show. Streammusic.gg powers all of the live streams right here on Ango YT. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Have a wonderful night.